Okay, Nissan, I give in. Where have you put it? Hiya, how you doing? Jimmy here. Now winter's nearly here and it's time for the winter service. And it's even more important for me because my MOT is due. Now I'm not going to video the whole service because I've done that in the past. But what I definitely haven't done in the past is replace that. That's what I was looking for under the bonnet at the beginning of the video. If you don't know what that is, it's a diesel fuel filter. The diesel fuel filters and petrol fuel filters don't need to be replaced every service. There's an interval which it'll be in your handbook to tell you when to change it. Nissan Notes are very high intervals, 80,000, 100,000 miles. Mine's up to 80,000 miles, so I'm going to replace it now. Now I've replaced hundreds, maybe thousands of filters in the past, but I've never done a Nissan Note diesel filter, and it's in a very funny place. So I went onto YouTube to give me some clues how to do it, and there's no videos. The only video I could see on YouTube was a Haynes manual video, and it only lasted 3 minutes. It didn't show very much. So I'm going to work it out and I'll come back to you at stages and I'll tell you what I've done, what the tricky bits were, and we'll take it from there. You can't see much from the top. You can see even less from underneath. Well, you can see from the shots I've just shown you, although I don't think they will have come out very well, that you're not going to get it without taking a lot of trims out first. It's virtually underneath, well, it's down there. I can see it, but there's no way you could get it out with everything in place. So I'm going to start taking some of the trims off. I'm just going to start by taking this top cover off, this intake cover off, and I'm going to take the battery out, and then I'll come back. Okay, up to now I've just taken these components off. Ignore this on the other side of the battery. That's just the drip tray from underneath because I am servicing the vehicle and need to change oil and oil filter, but that's got nothing to do with this job, just the battery. And I put my thumb in the way, it turns the focus off. The battery, the top cover and the inlet pipe. I've also taken the inlet and air filter housing off as well. Now up to now, apart from the battery, they've all just unclipped. The only tricky bit up to now was the wiring on the air intake was tricky to come off. Don't forget there's a little thing that you push there. It was still tight though. The battery is just a 10mm for the connectors. Take the earth one off first, the negative off first, and the battery clamp was a 13mm which I got to with the 1/2" drive socket and an extension. Only other tool I've had to use was the screwdriver. Now that's what it's looking like now. And at this point I would get your camera or phone and take a picture of the pipes on the top of the fuel filter, just so that when you put them back you won't mix them up. Success. Now what you want to do with this is to drain it off into a container, and before you start, put some rags down. You're not going to catch it all, it's still going to make a mess, but you catch as much as you can. Now, I didn't say before I had unclipped the hand primer and moved it out the way, and I've had to do that with a couple of the pipes as well, but that's pretty obvious. There's no real need to say that, you'll know. Now this is drained. I'll turn the camera around and I'll give you a shot inside. It wasn't too bad. It's fairly tight and it's fairly awkward, and the pipes on the top of the filter, there's little spring clips. You need to push them. Now they're all different places. That's a bit awkward, but you need to push them in or else you won't get the pipe off on every one. So that's virtually drained. I'll turn the camera around and let you have a look. That's where the filters just came out of. There's a few of the pipes there. There's a few pipes here. That, by the way, is the hand primer. It's clipped into here. It's clipped into here. So you move it out the way. And as I say, put rags down. And now, can I show you one of those fuel? There. That's the blue thing that you see. That's the spring clip. Now it's different on each one and they face different directions, but that has to be pushed in or so you won't get the pipe off. Well, there's the new filter ready to go back on. Now just a little tip I thought I'd better mention: make sure that that draining tap is closed, because the position it's in and how awkward it's in, if you put that on and that was open and it started to leak, it would be it wouldn't be good. Well, that's the new filter in place, almost. I'm just going to explain something before I show you the next step. If you've had a diesel vehicle run out of fuel, you'll know that you can't just put fuel in and start it up the way you do with a petrol engine. Diesel systems, you cannot have any air in the system, so you've got to bleed them just like you bleed your brakes. And on the older types of engines, there used to be a bleed nipple, and you could bleed it, pump the fuel through till there was no bubbles, then close the bleed nipple. There's no bleed nipple on this one. There is a hand primer, which I'll show you in a second when I turn the camera around, but I can't see any bleed nipples, so it must be what they call a self-bleed system. Now, self-bleed systems was just coming into play when I finished in the trade, but I have experience of a couple of them, and the ones I had experience of didn't work, namely the transits. Transits were hopeless. So what we used to do to get round that is we used to fill the new filter to the brim with clean diesel before we fitted it onto the engine, and sometimes that worked, sometimes it didn't. So what I'm going to do now, I'll show you in a minute. I've left one of the pipes off and I'm going to pump the hand primer until fluid comes out the top of the filter, and then I'll put that pipe back on, and that should give us the best chance of it starting. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, firstly, you don't need this string that I've just tied this pipe out the way with that, so you can, because I've only got one pair of hands, and just to tie the pipe out the way. Now you'll see that this pipe isn't attached yet. I'm sorry for the shaky camera work, but as I say, I've only got one pair of hands. That pipe goes onto there, and we haven't connected that yet, and that is the hand primer. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pump the hand primer until diesel comes out of that pipe. If I can get it in the shot there. Now it takes a while because the filter's empty. There we go. Now you can see the fuel coming out. Now I'll put that pipe onto there and it just clips on. Right. Now that means that the filter is full of diesel now. So when we do come to try and start it, the only bit of air that should be in might be a little bit in the pipe. And hopefully the self-bleed system can cope with that. But we'll see. Right, I'm going to dry up all the spilt diesel and put everything back together, just a reverse of the removal, and then I'll come back to you when I'm ready to start it. Just a little tip. This is your air filter housing, and it's, as I said before, it just clips in. Now, can you see that the rubbers they're supposed to stay in the bodywork, but they've came off. So it will be virtually impossible to put that in and clip it back in like that. So what you've got to do is you take these off. There you go. Take them off and fit them into the bodywork. Then that pin will just push into the hole. Much easier. I'll put these in the bodywork and then I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you. Right, there's 3 securing points for the air filter housing, and as they all push on fits. There's one of them. That one stayed in its place, but those 2 down there, now again, shaky camera work. There's the bushes that I've taken off the filter, and they fit into these here, there. So if you push them in like that and slide them along, I need a camera mark. I'll put them on and then I'll show you. Right, there's one. There's the other one. Now, there you can see, that's how they fit. There's two securing points there and one there. If you put a little bit grease in them before you put the air filter box back on, next time you take it off, they might stay where they should stay and just slide out. And there we are, all back together. Okay, we're just ready to try it now. Don't forget when you try and start it to use the glow plugs again, because you want to give it the best chance to start. And if it does start, don't turn it straight off, because you want the pump to pump the fuel through, just in case there's any air left in those pipes. So fingers crossed, we'll give it a shot. Here we go. That was just a quick check to try and see if there's any leaks, but you can't see much. Well, I think that's safe to say it's on. It's been running for about 5-10 minutes. And I think it's safe to say it's okay. Just a recap on some of the things. When you start, run the engine till it's hot, because a warm engine is much easier to start after you've fitted the filter than a cold one, but still use the glow plugs. The last little bit of the job there, fitting the air filter box back on is pretty tricky. I don't know how much that tip I said is going to help you, but what will help you is put the wiring on first. I didn't, and I had to take it off again because you can't get the wiring on. So put the wiring on first. When you're putting the battery back in, there's two wiring looms, pretty thick wiring looms goes under the battery. Now they've been moved, so make sure they are into that where they're supposed to be before you put the battery in, because if you don't, the battery will nip it and could damage the wires. It wasn't as bad as I thought. It's probably taken me about an hour and a half, but I've been faffing on with the camera and taking the gloves off and doing this and trying to do that, and I've had 2 cups of coffee, so you should do it in an hour probably. Everything's tight, everything's tricky, take your time, make sure everything goes back where it should. Can't think of anything else I should be telling you. There probably is, but if you can think of anything, leave a comment in the comments part and let me know. No smart asses though. As I say, that's another one done for the winter. Please, that's over. You want to do that again for another 80,000 miles. So, you take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time. When the voltage in your battery gets too low or your battery's been disconnected, you will need to enter a code into your radio to get the radio working again. This code can normally be found in your handbook, and if you don't know how to do it, when I put the code back into my radio, I'll do a little video to show you how to do it. I'll leave a link to that in the description.